Hello everyone and welcome to Staying Ahead of the Curve. I'm Jeff Snyder, Vice President, Senior Consultant with Camac Retirement Group, and coming to you live from Montpelier, Vermont, where we're joined by State Treasurer Beth Pearce. Beth, thanks for joining us on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So it is National Retirement Security Week, but before we get into retirement, which I know is near and dear to your heart and mine and everyone else in the audience, I want to talk about the National Association of State Treasurers, and I wonder, you were just elected the president.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind kind of sharing for the audience a little bit of insight into NAST.
Well, NAST is a very important organization. It does a number of things. First, it helps treasurers to have resource and skill sets to assist them in their own states, and sharing information, sharing expertise from one state to another, whether it's on cash management, debt management. So it provides a platform to improve your skills so that we can help all taxpayers across the country. In addition to that, it provides an advocacy role on very important issues that affect every single citizen in this country, whether it's tax-exempt financing, infrastructure. That's something that's on the table quite a bit lately, about what does infrastructure mean? You know, what does that do in terms of your state? How is it going to be financed? And what is the best way to get best value for the taxpayer in the process? State and local taxes is a big issue. Tax reform is a big issue. The treasurers as a group, we will have differing opinions. We have different folks. We're a bipartisan organization. But we find there are common elements about good finance and management that each state wants as part of their state's portfolio. And in addition to that, provide an advocacy role on common elements with the folks at the national level.
And it's great because there's only a certain number of treasurers, so it's great to have that camaraderie and that sharing of information.
It is. You know, we're a small group. We're lean, but we're not mean. And from my end, we work together to find solutions to benefit our constituents and the constituents across the country in all of our respective states.
So one of those issues, I'm sure, is retirement.
Absolutely.
And you look around the country, and providing retirement coverage is extremely important. It's an issue that we're wrestling with when you look state to state. We've talked to State Treasurer Tobias Reed about Oregon, and you have done some work in the state of Vermont. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing your expertise and experience working with trying to solve this issue.
Well, let's start with why we want a retirement program. For me, retirement is important as an economic development tool. When people have adequate and reliable income in retirement, they buy goods and services. And when they buy goods and services, they're part of the economic generator. They help create jobs. So it's good for the state, it's good for economic development, and it's also good for the individual. So we want to see every person in every single state have an opportunity for financial well-being. I want it for my children. I want it for my neighbors. I want it for my friends. We want it, as treasurers, we want it for all of our constituents and every single person. It's important that people have that opportunity for a lifetime of financial well-being. What they do with that is up to them, but as a treasurer and as a public policy individual, I want to be able to help and assist in that role. Now in Vermont, 104,000 people do not have access to employer-sponsored retirement plans. And that is a significant number. And again, if you see this as an economic development tool, that's an area, a gap that we need to address. So what we came up with was a program called a multiple employer plan, or called MEP. Yep. And it's going to be a voluntary plan. It will allow employers that have 50 or less employees or self-employed individuals have access to a group of mutual funds and to be able to make voluntary contributions to create an opportunity for that retirement and for to save for retirement, and to have that opportunity for a lifetime of financial well-being. So we're very excited about the program. We have enabling legislation that has been passed that gives the Treasurer's Office the authority to go forth and do this program. And we're putting together the team now. We're looking at the various steps to do this. And for me, it's the right thing to do for the individual, it's the right thing to do for the state, and it's the right thing to do for the economic prosperity of every single Vermonter.
And going back to NAST, I mean, this is something that's going on in every state. And states are coming up with all different types of solutions. So you have the ability to leverage your resources at NAST and in other across the states to really learn from other people's experiences.
Well, that's true. The folks in Oregon are doing it a little differently than we
Sure.
are. They're also they're doing a pilot program right now. So I talked to those folks. What have they learned in the pilot program? What's the participation rate? What are the marketing issues around it? How do you reach individuals and incentivize them to make those choices? So for me, learning from that experience is extraordinarily helpful. I look forward to being able to provide that same learning experience for other states. That's what's great about NAST. We work together, we learn from each other's experiences, and we improve the product. Now, it's a different product from state to state. That's okay. There are common elements that we can all work with.
States are the laboratories of democracy.
They really are. And, right now with our federal institutions, to be very candid, in a state of, I'm trying to think of the right word. They're not cooperating and not working together. That they lack that collaborative spirit.
Yep.
What we find in Vermont and in other states is people do work together. Yep. It's your neighbor. You know that individual, and you grew up with those individuals. You are able to find ways to collaborate. Even when you disagree on issues, you can find common elements and work together. NAST does that in a bipartisan way. We do it in our states. This is something that I would hope that some of our national institutions would get on the program and start working together in that same spirit of bipartisanship.
Agreed. And shifting gears, what's top of mind for Vermonters right now in terms of, from your point of view as the state treasurer?
Well, for me, again, it's about a single goal, which is that lifetime of economic and financial well-being for every Vermonter. And we approach it in different ways. One is through retirement. Yeah. And for me, we have the defined benefit plans that the state offers for its state, the teacher, and municipal plans. I once had someone ask me, what do you say to people that don't have those plans? And my answer was, raise all boats. It's not a race to the bottom. Hence the MEP, the Multiple Employer Plan, and we think that this will complement that and help all Vermonters. In addition to that, it's good, sound debt management policies. You don't put things on your credit card, or you shouldn't put things on your credit card you can't afford, and neither should states. And from my end, looking at how we manage our capital budget, how we manage our capital planning, and how we finance those capital expenditures is extraordinarily important. The other issue is looking at your resources. This state, for instance, one of our natural resources is our lakes and our rivers. People come here, they enjoy them. So we need to take steps to maintain the quality of those assets. Tourism is a $2.5 billion industry in Vermont. We need to make sure that we put the capital infrastructure involved in that. So while that's not usually something people think about in terms of treasurers and their role, last year the legislature asked me to take a look at the issue and come up with a financing plan for our lakes and rivers, and we provided a very detailed report with recommendations to move us forward in those issues. I'm not the policymaker, but we were able to add to the conversation by providing a financial perspective to it, and that's part of what treasurers do. I don't get into larger policy issues that are outside of the purview of the treasurer. But for me, looking at the ways that we can incentivize people to have those opportunities in terms of economic development, to work with local businesses, to work with communities, to improve their financial condition, that's what it's all about. That's what I love doing. And this is the best job around. We'll be very blunt. It's the best job in the state, and I think that most of my fellow treasurers would say the same thing about their respective states.
Well, Beth, Pearce, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and best of luck to you with everything related to the state of Vermont.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.